Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. For reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of God and Narayana. And the Narayana one is Saraswati, goddess of learning, the Srila Vajrasati, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise is transcendental songs, is established as the irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. Morning, everyone. Nice to be here with all of you. Today we're continuing the saga of a great sage by the name of who? Narada. Yes. Prabhupada calls him the transcendental spaceman. So we'll hear about his backstory because Vyasadeva, who is an inquisitive, sincere disciple, wants to hear more about his spiritual master. He's very eager, and so he asks some follow-up questions. Well, what happens next? He's on the edge of his seat. You know, like when you're watching your favorite Game of Thrones or whatever show you may like or may have liked. One episode ends and you're just waiting, and then you have to wait a whole week for the next one, and you're just on the edge of your seat. So like that, but so much more, Vyasadeva is just eager to hear more from his spiritual master. And we will hear about Narada Muni's apparent misfortune that his mother died when he was just 5 years old. But the topic of this class is how he understood that the difficulty in his life was actually Krishna's special mercy. So we'll discuss this topic of overcoming difficulties in life by seeing everything as Krishna's special mercy. We can read through, starting with text 1. And we have a volunteer. Brhat.
Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God, and son of Satyavati inquired as follows.
Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in the scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
So just for a review, what happened with the sages? Can someone say briefly what happened when Narada Muni met these sages? Jackson. Go ahead, Jackson.
He tasted a morsel of their prasadam and became ecstatic.
Yeah, had some pakora or some samosa, whatever it may have been. And also, along with that, what did he do? He was hearing, yeah. So being around them, he was hearing their discussions. And great devotees are always talking about Krishna, Krishna Katha, Krishna says this in the Gita. Maybe you know this verse. Machchita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantash chamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Pure devotees are always talking about Krishna, and they feel tushyanti cha ramanti cha, great happiness and bliss talking about Krishna. So it's beneficial for those who are speaking, it's beneficial for those who are listening, and even for any random person who passes by Krishna house and happens to poke their head in or just hear some sound vibration coming from this room. Everyone is benefited when there's Krishna Katha. And if you are very sincere, like Narada Muni, and have the other qualifications he mentions, you can get the greatest benefit, which he will describe. What were the other qualifications of Narada that he described in the previous chapter? Remember? Yes, Stephen?
He wasn't a naughty boy.
Yes. And he wasn't interested
In sports.
in mundane activities. And he just sincerely listened to the... No volleyball, sorry. Not for the transcendental spaceman. So Narada Muni is a great example of a disciple, and Vyasadeva as well. And the main thing is both of them like to hear. So even if we have some attraction for mundane activities right now, if we have a desire, an interest in hearing about Krishna, if we can come to the classes and with eagerness listen to the message and really try to digest it, reflect on it, then we will overcome all of our shortcomings in our lives. Now text 3. Someone please continue. Chris, go ahead.
O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation, and how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course?
Okay. After you got initiated, what did you do next? Next.
Time annihilates everything in due course, so how is it that the subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time?
Do any of you remember your past lives? No, it's a very special thing. Even you could do past life regressions. It may or may not be accurate. But Narada has very clear memory of his past life. So clearly, a very special person. Next, what did Narada Muni say?
O great sage, time annihilates every...
Next.
Sorry. Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way.
So he was separated from his gurus. Next, text 6. Someone on this side, please. Maybe Courtney. Sorry. Great.
I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection.
Thank you. Very intimate relationship with Narada and his mother. Next.
She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master.
Okay. So although his mother had great affection for him, she wasn't able to fully protect him because only Krishna can do that. Then what happened?
When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
So he's kind of an innocent boy. Next.
Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent, influenced by the supreme time.
Poetic. Influenced by supreme time. And we see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has a very powerful statement. Can you open it up so we can See the first sentence of text 9 purport. Very strong statement. That is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. Wow. That's a graphic image, to be dragged. So this doesn't mean that Krishna will unwillingly force us. We have to desire to go back. But if we are really sincere to be with Krishna, then he will in every way help us to come back. We'll discuss that more in the course of this discussion. Last verse, we can do the Sanskrit, text 10. So here Narada Muni is saying, Tada, at that time, just after my mother had been bitten by the serpent and she had left her body, then he recognized immediately that this is the grace of Krishna. Because Bhaktanam, Ishasya Bhaktanam, there's a relationship between Krishna and his devotees. And what is Krishna? How does he relate to his devotees? Anugraha, Abhipsata, he's desiring special benediction. He's always wanting good things for his devotees. And so Manyamana, when Narada was thinking in this way, recognizing that Krishna is so merciful, so kind, then Pratishtatam Disham Uttara, he went to the north. What's north in India? The Himalaya mountains, yes. So the sages of the past would often go north because that is an ideal place for meditation. So now we have a little idea of what we're saying in this Sanskrit. Tada tad aham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsatah nugraham manyamana pratishtam disham uttaram. Anyone? Please go ahead. Tatad aham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsatah anugraham manyamana pratishtam disham uttaram. Tadatadaham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsatah anugraham manyamana pratishtam disham uttaram. Just feeling courageous. Tadatadaham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsatah anugraham pratishtam disham uttaram. Final chance. Tadatadaham ishasya bhaktanam sham abhipsatah anugraham manyamana pratishtam disham uttaram. Thank you all. Together, let's read the word for word. Tada, at that time. Tat, that. Aham, I. Ishasya, of the Lord. Bhaktanam, of the devotees. Sham, mercy. Abhipsata, desiring. Anugraham, special benediction. Manyamana, thinking that way. Pratishtam, departed. Disham uttaram, in the northern direction. Translation. Together, please. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north. Amazing. Narada Muni is 5 years old. His mother just died, and he doesn't have a father around, so he's now an orphan. And he says immediately, Krishna, you're so kind. Thank you for this. Now I will leave. Amazing. So, short purport. Any volunteers to read? Carly, go ahead.
Confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever, and by the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it.
Thank you. Short and powerful words by Srila Prabhupada. Could you pull up 10:14:8, please? So we all have difficulties we go through in our lives, right? What are some difficulties you all have gone through recently? Just call it out. Sorry? Restlessness, okay. Yep, I can relate with that. Hurricanes, yes. Elections. Yeah, struggle sleeping. We sleep too much, or we can't fall asleep, or we wake up in the middle of the night, can't fall back asleep. And our own critical mind disturbing us, or criticism from others disturbing us. Yeah, our body's just, if you've worked out, or if you just sleep wrong, or just sometimes for no reason, you wake up. Like a few weeks ago, I woke up and my knee was in so much pain, I couldn't even move it. I had to limp around just for no reason at all. Yes, Prabhu? Yeah, we've got so much we want to do and the day flies by. So in so many ways, we have difficulties we go through. Even as we're practicing here at Krishna House, we're trying our best to give our lives to Krishna, and yet we experience that there's still pain in our lives, right? We're not totally free from all pain. It is a gradual process of elevation. And the problem is we've got a material fever, as Prabhupada describes here. We've got all different temperatures that we start with in this material fever, because we've all spent many, many lives, millions of lifetimes in this world. And material nature is very sticky. So if you touch something material, it's yours. It's stuck to you. There's this thing called impressions. The Sanskrit word is samskara. Yeah. So we get these impressions in the material world, good or bad, and because of our activities, we desire more of those good activities. We desire less of those bad activities. But karma binds us. And we all have a different level of fever. So the process of devotional service means to gradually lessen that material fever. And we can know that our material fever is reducing by what? What is the symptom that will reduce? Like if you're sick, you're coughing, sneezing, these symptoms will gradually reduce. So when you are getting healthy in bhakti, you feel peaceful. Okay, yes. And feel happy. Yeah. And higher taste. You get a higher taste. Yeah, for sure. These are all signs. And one also that Prabhupada specifically points out is that our desire for sense gratification gradually lessens because of that higher taste, the happiness, the peace that we feel as a result of devotional service. So if you want to increase the rate of your advancement, then taking on the mood of Narada Muni is extremely beneficial. What's Narada Muni's mood here? That's not his mood, that's his personality, his occupation, to travel around the world enlightening people. He's grateful, yes. Whatever Krishna wants, he's surrendered. Yeah, I was just hearing a lecture, and the speaker is describing, this is Radhanath Swami, that gratitude makes the heart soft. And humility, both of these qualities make the heart soft. And when your heart is more soft, it's easier to have a surrendered attitude toward Krishna, not a bitter attitude. Krishna, why me? You know, it's not easy. But Narada Muni is setting the bar for us that we can one day reach towards. That even some great difficulty happens. A family member dies. We lose all of our money. A hurricane comes and destroys our house. Some big difficulty, some big pain, suffering in life. But we can take it as, Krishna, this is your kindness upon me. Because he says in the 11th canto, Yasyaham anugrinami harishye taddanam shanai. Prabhupada said when he heard this verse, it was horrifying. Prabhupada actually experienced this personally. Krishna says that when I'm especially merciful to someone, I take away everything. So therefore, not many people come to Krishna house. We try our best to share, but this is a confidential secret, is that Krishna will gradually take away our desire for material things. But he is abhipsatam anugraham. He's always desiring our welfare. So he's a kind friend. It's not that he's trying to cause us pain. He cares about us, and he, for our benefit, will gradually remove our material desires, gradually help us to reduce our fever. Now, Brahma also talks about this. This is a famous verse, 10:14:8. We can look at this one. If you haven't already, this is a great verse to memorize. It's one that you will cherish in your life. And if you reflect on this regularly, you can develop the mood of Narada Muni. So please repeat after me. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano Punjana ivatma kritam vipakam Ridvagvapurbhir vidadhan namaste Triveta yomukti pade sadaya bhak. So what does Brahma say? Translation, please. Can someone read the translation for us?
My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past and future, offering you respectful obeisance and giving philosophy. Surely it is a benefit, for it has become a right.
Very powerful meditation for our lives. Not easy to do. But if we develop this attitude of gratitude, then we can, like an heir to a great fortune, just wait, just go on with our sadhana every day and know, expecting that one day Krishna will give his full mercy to me. He'll bring me back to him. And the verse says that Krishna is anukampa. It's an amazing Sanskrit word. Kampa, we sing every morning, right? Anyone know? A little trivia. In the Gravashtakam, when do we say kampa? In the second verse. Romancha kampa shutaranga bhadra vande guru shri charanara vindam. So romancha kampa means shivering. The spiritual master, the pure devotees are so in love with Krishna. They've developed such a high stage of devotion that they tremble just to hear Krishna's names. Imagine chanting your japa in the morning and you just can't even control yourself. You're feeling so much love that you actually can't even keep your body still. And they cry and their hair stands on end. Incredible to recognize. And so in this verse, anukampa means compassion. So it means that one who is compassionate feels so much empathy for the other person that they physically are moved. They're like, the suffering of someone else makes me shake. That's what the word literally is describing. Amazing, huh? So one who is waiting for Krishna to give his compassion, recognizing that Krishna's nature is he feels so much for our pain. He's in pain, right? Imagine a loving parent, their child runs away and they're suffering, living on the streets. How much pain that would cause to the parent. Krishna is the supreme parent. Aham bija pradapita. He's the father of all. and he's feeling great pain that all of us are here in this world suffering. So why would he not do everything possible to bring us back? So recognizing this mood, then the verse says, can you go back to the Sanskrit, please? Tate anukampam, so Krishna's mercy. Samikshamano, also a really amazing word. So samiksha. Iksha means to see or to look for, and sam means completely. And su means very much, a lot. So this means that a devotee is always intensely and very comprehensively looking, where is Krishna's mercy? I know Krishna is here. I know Krishna will give me, I know Krishna is so kind. So looking with great care to find that Krishna, his mercy is here present. So some difficulty will happen in our lives. And maybe our conditioned mind immediately says, what? What does our mind say when we go through some suffering? Why me? Krishna, you're so cruel. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chitraketu had a great suffering in his life that his beloved son, which he got after great difficulty, was poisoned by the jealous co-wives of his main queen, Kritadyuti. And the queen, she expressed this why me mood, and she took it to another level. She even said, God, you don't know what you're doing. You're inexperienced, actually. She's criticizing Krishna for being inexperienced. You should be giving me pleasure all the time. You should be doing everything exactly as I want. You don't know what you're doing. So this is a misunderstanding. Krishna has his own brilliant, compassionate plan for our lives, and it will not go as we desire all the time. Because Krishna knows everything, right? Past, present, and future. Krishna is all present as the super soul. And Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, he's the well-wishing friend of all beings. So if we really recognize Krishna's position and Krishna's compassionate mood, then we will gradually learn to react to difficulties in our lives with a different spirit, as Lord Brahma is expressing in this verse. That Hrid Vag Vapur, with our heart, our words, and our bodies, offering respects to Krishna. Krishna, I'm going through some health challenges right now. Krishna, I'm going through some family difficulties. Krishna, I'm confused about my ashram status. Whatever it might be, we go through some turbulence in our lives. But let me serve you with my heart, my body, my words, because I am grateful. Last point I'll say, and I'd love to hear reflections and some discussion from the rest of you. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that Krishna is like a doctor. So if you're in the hospital and you're getting chemotherapy for your cancer, do you criticize the doctor for giving you the treatment? No. You actually are grateful. It's very expensive in this country. Maybe you have good health care, good insurance, or somehow someone is helping pay for your treatment. So you're very grateful, not only for the doctor, but for all those who are helping you to get this very painful treatment. And why do you have this gratitude when you're in the hospital getting treatment? Because you know it's good for you. And gradually, you have confidence in them. Yeah, they know what they're doing. That's a great point. And if we have a trusted doctor and we are in a good facility, then gradually it is good for us. We will get healthy in due time. So like that, recognizing, or at least learning by hearing that Krishna is the supreme doctor, he's the most qualified, he is the most expert in every way, the more we recognize this about Krishna, then we can have great faith. He is giving me this difficult surgery in my life right now. The difficult people in my life right now are Krishna's kindness upon me to remove this difficulty from my heart, this physical pain I'm feeling, this mental distress I'm feeling. This is Krishna kindly, surgically, expertly removing the suffering, the deep-rooted desires for wanting to be God in this world. If we can develop this type of meditation by reflecting on this verse of Lord Brahma, please do memorize this if you have capacity and interest in memorizing verses. It's a fantastic verse. If you know no other verse, this is one you can hold on to your whole life, and it will always be relevant and will be a great tool for teaching others. So in conclusion, let's follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni, and by hearing from the right source, learn about how Krishna is abhipsatam, anugraham. He's always desiring the best for his devotees. And if we are sincerely trying every day to approach Krishna, we can't even imagine how happy he is, how kind he will be, how kind he is. And the more we develop this meditation of Lord Brahma, then the faster we will advance, and we will happily advance. Not that we will be dragged back to Krishna, but we will dance and chant our way back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind attention. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Stephen G.
Thank you very much. So I would just like to ask if you could speak more about cultivating that gratitude. And we said some things like recognizing that Krishna is anxious at our distress, that he's the perfect surgeon, Srila Prabhupada says, or the perfect doctor to remove our distress. And in other places in the Bhagavatam, he even has the word, one of his names is Hari. And Prabhupada translated, we were just talking about it last night, as the one who's like steals your misery. So intellectually, that might be there, but I still feel like Maharaj Chitraketu's wife, like, why is all this suffering happening to me? Why are my senses not being satisfied the way that I want them to? So even though there is this understanding, so could we speak on this a little bit more?
Yeah, we develop genuine gratitude. And one thing is to serve those devotees who have this quality that we so desire. By their grace, we can develop their good qualities. We see this happening. Actually, I've had this experience that when I spend significant time with a devotee, when they leave and I'm physically separated from them, I feel their presence in their qualities. And I actually see that if I appreciate that devotee, if I'm not criticizing them and focusing on their bad qualities, but if I meditate on their good qualities while they're there and after they leave, then it's like I become infused with those good qualities. It's really an amazing thing. So we should become like a honeybee and not like a fly, because the fly always looks for the bad qualities of others, and the honeybee always the fly always goes for the sores in your body and dirty things, and a bee looks for pure nectar. So by spending time with, serving, hearing from devotees who have this attitude, and looking at their good qualities, reflecting, meditating on their good qualities, and trying to do away with criticizing them, this will open our heart to receive those good qualities in our hearts. That's one reflection. I'm sure others can share more angles on this question. So please, any other thoughts on this or other related or non-related? Yeah, Gopi and then Jonathan.
just I guess it's in response to Stephen. When we have that mood, we're basically expressing that we think Krishna is being unfair, which then implies that we feel things should be fair. So if we want to talk about what's fair, then this verse by Lord Brahma is saying we should be patiently suffering the reactions of our own misdeeds. So in one sense, you can also think about everything that you have done and are still doing to others. Then it only makes it fair that there are reactions coming your way.
That's a great point. Rather than look for the faults in others, recognize, oh man, I'm not the nicest person all the time. Let me work on that. Yeah, thank you. Advaita. Yeah, let's hear Advaita and then Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I heard when we talk about Krishna as Hari, or one who takes everything away from us. He doesn't do that just so we can leave bereft. We can be left bereft of things that we like or we attach to. But he only does it so he can give himself. So there's a second part of that. Yeah, Hari takes everything away. But why? So the question is why? Why would he do that? So the answer to that question is why? Only so he can give himself. Once you have Krishna, then you have everything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's never just to leave us hanging. He's not a torturer. I mean, he doesn't torture, but only to give something better. Well, give himself actually, and with Krishna, you have everything. There's nothing else.
Thank you. This is just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear the mind. Krishna's Kaviraj reveals the mind of Krishna. Such an amazing section. He says, Krishna is thinking, I'm very intelligent, but my devotee is not. They're doing things that aren't good for them. So you know what? I'm going to give them my mercy. I'm going to somehow make them, I'm going to give myself to them somehow or other. And this is just like what you're saying.
I mean, what would you do? Like if we had a precious jewel, a diamond, we don't want to just place him anywhere. You gotta clean the place and have a nice setting. Then you place the diamond. Just don't place the diamond in the trash pile. What would you do?
Thank you. Brilliant points. Jonathan?
So about 10 years ago, I had the experience that you're talking about. I just had started trying to pick up Krishna consciousness again, and had even had an altar in my house and was doing worship the best of my understanding at the time, and visiting temple and trying to do service for the temple president. He even came over and stayed a week and then kind of gave me a brush up on morning japa and standards, vegetarian cooking and everything. I was really getting into it, reading Bhagavad Gita and doing a couple rounds here and there. And that was so interesting is it's right when I started doing that, I lost everything. I mean, I had the biggest automotive career that I've ever had. I was getting ready to own this home that I was in. I had 2 cars. I had tons of money. And it's just like this. One dramatic incident happened at the home in front of the altar and it's gone. It's wiped out. And then next thing I know, I'm pretty much homeless. Living at my mom's house, but everything's in storage and it's gone. So at that time, I was really upset because I knew that directly came from Krishna. He just destroyed my small little universe I had at the time, and because of that, I feel like I took, basically the Bhagavad Gita, my relationship with Krishna as a book, closed it and I put it on the shelf. And the thing is
Sounds
that
like you were angry.
I was. And I never stopped believing in Krishna. It's just my relationship with him got inactive and distant, you know. And it took literally almost exactly 10 years for me to revisit it with curiosity, you know. And then when I did, thankfully, I was able to come to Christian House, and the things that got taken away from me at that time, I was surrendered, and I was more like, oh yeah, I'm losing this apartment and this career and stuff because I'm coming to Christian House, and this is what I asked for. So it was more like I flowed on that mercy that we're talking about. So I'm sharing that because I just want to see, like, what can you say as far as like not getting discouraged, you know, when and if something is removed in our lives, because I don't feel like it's always in little bits sometimes, you know. So how can we keep from getting discouraged during that part of the process?
Yeah, thank you. Amazing story. Like, we see the Bhagavatam in our own life, right? You're seeing this Chitraketu pastime play out in your life. And one reflection is that we right now prepare ourselves for the time when there's bigger challenges in our lives. Right now, maybe our lives are more simple. Those of us living in the ashram, it's a great opportunity that we can really strengthen our faith in Krishna, to really go deep in our reading, to go deep in our chanting every day, and seriously develop our relationship with mentors. Because if we have that, it's like we dig our roots very deep. And when a tree has deep roots, even if there's a hurricane, big tree can stay strong. So we put on armor every morning, protecting ourselves against the daily challenges by chanting very seriously. And then over a long period, spending this time that we're doing in the Krishna House sadhana program, then we're really digging our roots deep. So when these calamities come, we're more prepared to face them. Thanks again for your wonderful story. Yeah, let's hear Nitai, Shruti. Can you pass this microphone, please?
Just wanted to share something that I remember when Stephen was talking about Krishna being a doctor. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a bhajan where he says, Hridaya Pirita Yara Krishna Chikitsa Katara Bhava Roga Nashita Chatura Krishna Bahir Mukha Jane Trimamrita Vitarane Kame Laya Nijantapura. Krishna is just like a doctor for those whose hearts are ailing, and as he's very expert at destroying the diseased condition of material existence. By distributing the nectar of ecstatic love to all inimical souls, he gradually takes them back to his own confidential realm. Like, I like what Advaita Prabhu was saying, and that also reminded me of this. Like, Krishna doesn't leave us like hanging. In a way, maybe we really wanted to come close to him, or someone else prayed for us. Maybe that's why things are taken away from like us. But he's not gonna leave us hanging.
But he will leave us for a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe it'll take 10 years sometimes, like Jonathan said. But I think that when he comes, like when he gives himself to us, it's not half-hearted. Like then we really take shelter of it. Sometimes we are really not convinced that we want this process, and we're just kind of interested. But then when Krishna finally gives us that faith, I think it's like what I see in Jonathan. Then you really want to go deep into it. You don't want to leave it.
Thank you.
Somehow it's hard to understand, but it's part of this interaction with this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that reminds me too that it's so important we discuss, like Jonathan was saying, these experiences that we've had in our lives that are faith challenging and faith building. So not only do we discuss the ancient pastimes or Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, but what's happening to us right now or in the last few years in our spiritual journey. What has happened to us to build our faith in Krishna's plan, even in apparently difficult circumstances? So rather than, if we don't do that, the material atmosphere of this world will just bring faithlessness into our minds, right? All the universities are becoming secularized and just teaching nothing about God. So the atmosphere of this world will overwhelm our hearts if we're not filling our hearts with the positive discussions of Krishna's mercy in our lives. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
I was thinking of this one time when we were in Vrindavan, and Radha Marge was visiting, and I wrote a poem and I gave it to Marge. And the poem was about how Krishna takes away everything. It was a sad poem. It's like, Krishna, hurry, the thief takes away. So I gave it to him. And the same day, I think, there was a program in the evening, and Marge was speaking. And in the lecture, he said that, yes, he was talking about the Goswamis. So he was talking about Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And he was saying how they had so much wealth. They were like, he was saying they had so much gold, they could fill up 2 Olympic-sized pools with that gold. So they had so much wealth. And he said that, and then, they became devotees, and then they became renunciates. Sanatana Goswami was even imprisoned by the king because he didn't want to do his job and just chant Hare Krishna. And so the king just put him in jail. It's like, if you're not going to work. And so he was just making this point that, they lost everything. They had so much wealth, they lost everything. He said then that, but they gained the most precious thing, the instructions in Krishna consciousness from Lord Chaitanya. So he's making that point. And then when he was giving the lecture to all of us, but when he said that, he looked at me and nodded. Thank you, Marge. So it was like in reply to my poem that, Krishna might take away everything, but he gives us the real wealth of instruction in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. And that's just like we'll see later in this canto, that Arjuna, when he's going through great distress after the battle of Kurukshetra, what does he remember? The instructions of the Gita, because Krishna had spoken to him before the battle started. So to have faith, Arjuna was reflecting on the Gita. So either Lord Chaitanya's instructions or Krishna's instructions, they're the same person, so it's not different. Yeah.
Also, I was thinking that, when Krishna doesn't leave his devotees totally poor and hungry also, I was thinking how, things might be taken away for some time, but then it's like it's a time for reflection and purification and growth. And then in due course of time, like, when Krishna sees, all right, this devotee has made progress, and not naturally, Krishna takes care, like with Dhruva Maharaj, Krishna gave him what he wanted, because at that point Dhruva was ready to handle all the opulence, and other examples I'm sure there are in the Bhagavatam. But when we are surrendered and when we actually are detached from material wealth and life, then Krishna, all right, I'm going to give it to them because they're going to use it in service. So it's not that Krishna doesn't just, all the devotees of Krishna aren't just desperate, poor. Krishna does provide.
Yes, yoga kshemam vahamyaham. That also means Krishna protects our spiritual advancement, and even he supplies what we need materially. Yeah. Yes, Brandon. Final point.
I was just going to say, before I came to Krishna consciousness, actually, I had kind of like almost like a purge of my life too, where I had like a bunch of friends, but they weren't really friends at the time. I thought they were friends, but I slowly just began to lose all my friends. I lost everything, like all the connections I had, everything. And then I was just like alone, like for like about 5 or 6 months. And then next thing you know, I found Krishna consciousness through, the yoga teacher I had. And so I've always seen it as it's just Krishna creating space, and in that way that we're not coming with all this baggage. So we come actually already cleared out. Like, I even, did mindset stuff and everything like that to clear out my mind. And I'm just like, everything gets set up perfectly for, our next part in life. And so that during that time, I was just like, I had a mood of gratitude, because that was one thing I learned is gratitude. So just an attitude of gratitude helped me get, I was like, I might not have friends right now, but I know that I'm going to eventually have some friends. And, obviously ever since I came to Krishna consciousness, then all of a sudden everything, just like he said, how all of a sudden everything will start happening right for you, because Krishna knows you're following his path now. You're on the path, of God consciousness. Then everything, he starts to give you everything that you want, basically the connections, the travels, like all that kind of stuff naturally comes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so empowering and faith building to hear these experiences. And what you're saying, Rupa Goswami confirms in the Nectar of Devotion that kleshagni shubhada, when you start practicing bhakti, then all of your distress is taken away, and very auspicious things start to happen in your life. So we've got a lot to be hopeful for, And we can know, like you're saying, Brandon, that right now Krishna is preparing us for what's coming next in our lives. This is the lesson in our study in the material world, that Krishna is preparing us for the 201 level. If we're at the 101, he's preparing us for the next course. And the more we just talk in this way, fill our lives with nice association, nice prasadam, nice kirtans, nice mentors, all of these things, we'll have a satisfied life, even when there's difficulties. And we can go back to Godhead at the end of this life and never have to worry about these things again. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for your kind attention. Breakfast will be inside, Shruti wanted me to mention. So stick around. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, let's do the English one. Bodies full of ignorance, fraught with lust in every sense, throw us in the sea of death and birth. On the senses, lusty tongues,
Although in each department, like what is it called? They make me really sad. Because they're just like a vestige of a bygone era. Yeah, it's like it's strange, you know. You're like in general. Oh, I know you guys.